Good morning, and we're shifting the story. I'm
We
Doug.
are shifting the story.
We are shifting the story.
I'm Jamie, and I'm so excited to be here. We're going to be talking about leadership for women, and today's topic is time management. Please don't tune us out. I know you've been to a bazillion time management workshops. Please stay. This is time management for women.
And it's not the same time management because we've all heard, oh, you can get up an hour earlier or 2 hours earlier and be productive in that time. Or if you're not getting everything done, you can stay up late and finish everything that you haven't gotten done in the house. And when do you get some sleep? So that's not time management. That's just people telling you
that's
to
burning
do
out.
things.
That's running yourself to burnout. And you know what? As somebody who's suffered burnout, don't go there. We'll talk about that in another podcast, and we'll talk about all the prevention and all things. But don't go there. Don't go there.
We've all heard the, get yourself a planner and color code things and prioritize things.
Now, we're simplifying this whole situation, and we're going to talk about why what he's saying is true but not true. So, let's go ahead and get started. Doug, have you ever had a day where you did all the things but you didn't feel productive? You were busy all day, but you weren't productive?
Well, I've had days where I thought I was productive, and at the end of the day, I had to undo everything I did.
Ouch!
It was productive, but it didn't feel productive when you have to sit there and undo everything.
Well, let's hope that we give you some systems where that's not a continual theme, because that sounds pretty miserable.
It is.
Or maybe you tried every productivity hack out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it still seems like it's all falling apart, or it still feels like it's spilling out of your planner no matter what you do.
The thing is when you look at all these programs and all these different things, everybody treats them as it's a one size fits all. And when you look at life, there's no two people that are exactly the same. Their needs are not the same. What they like, their dislikes, their everything are different. And when you have a family, you've got one kid who absolutely loves broccoli and they want that cheese sauce on it. And the next kid is like, you have got to be kidding me.
Give me French fries.
Exactly. And I'll take the cheese sauce on the fries.
And I was a chili with that too, please, Mom.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're some kind of shorter cook. Right? And really I've been in the therapy chair a long time helping women with their lives, with the things that aren't working. So some of this came through experience. But I think when it really hit me was, I'm sitting down watching a gentleman who was extremely successful with his coaching business, who was talking about how to separate your day, how to work through these things, how to work through some of the mindset. Really successful guy, really sincere guy. And I'm listening, and he's saying, we all have the same 24 hours. Just get up early. Okay, can't tell you, first of all, how many women have walked into my office. I had one, and she's so memorable. It stands out. She comes in, she's standing at the door. So we've closed the office door. She's standing in the office. She has not sat down on the couch. And I usually let my clients choose where they want to sit. So I'm waiting to sit down to let her pick her seat. And she looks at me and she says, please promise me that you will not tell me to get up an hour earlier to have some me time. Please tell me that you are not that therapist. And I told her, I am not that therapist. And she said, you promise me. I said, I promise you. If I give you that tool and I tell you that in this session, you can not pay your copay. You don't pay today. You don't pay at all today. You pay nothing. So I'm putting my income on the line here. Y'all think that's a pretty good risk? That's a pretty big risk, right? I'm putting my income for this session on the line. But I promised her. And by the end, we had tools that felt good to her. And that's That's what's important, is that it feels good. You know, this gentleman's talking, and none of it felt good to me. I could feel in my body how much stress I would have trying to follow the system. And that's, he's not a bad person. His tips are not bad. They are male-centered. He lives in a male-centered world. They made sense for him. And it just really came crashing down to me how much we pass along advice without taking into consideration how different. I mean, Hochschild in the second shift outlined this years ago. And yet we have yet to catch up leadership and time management, the way we set boundaries, the way we do things for women. We are not caught up to even that idea that was presented. I read that book in my bachelor's program. I'm not going to date myself, but it was time ago. So we have not caught up. And why? Why have we not caught up? So it's time to catch up. It's time to give you tools that really work. And that's why I'm here.
So there's a truth and a lie in the same words.
Yes, because we all do have 24 hours, and that's true. It's
all
limited.
Have the
It's
same
limited in that
24
way.
hours. And time is one thing that is just constant. It just goes on and on and on.
Right.
But how I see that 24 hours and how you see that 24 hours is totally different.
Right. And with young kids, I mean, especially if you're a new mom with a newer baby, you might be waking up at night because your baby needs to feed. And then you're trying to go back to sleep, and then you're trying to work a full day. Your 24 hours looks distinctly different. It's not like you mark on your calendar, I'm going to sleep, and the baby reads it and says, I'll sleep with you. It does. They have tiny tummies. They need to eat. And if you're a breastfeeding mom particularly, they need to eat often, and through the night is one of those things. That's something that our male colleagues don't have to think about.
Yep.
And even when they're trying to be supportive, they're not getting up in the middle of the night. That is not something I see after the first burst of maternity leave. I just don't see that happening.
It doesn't happen very often. And if it does happen, it's because it's bottle feeding and mom goes, it's your turn, feed the baby.
Or some families have the opportunity to hire a postpartum doula, a newborn care specialist, or an au pair, or maybe even a nanny to assist with this. But not everybody has that luxury. So we've got to talk to all the variations that are out there, because we are all managing time very differently.
And if you're a business owner and you're running a business, there's a lot of people out there who tend to think that people who own and run a business, that they just have tons of money and they have lots of time freedom, and that they just don't have to worry about what's going on.
And that might be true if you're doing a drop ship business or something like that. But if you are working with people, you are at the mercy, in some ways, to other people's schedule.
Really, I know people who are truck drivers, and they think their boss doesn't do anything all day, and that they just take vacations all the time. And yet, when you go in and you talk to those bosses, you find out that, hey, they're not on vacation all the time. They may not be at the office all the time, but they have payroll to do. They have to talk to their vendors. They have to work on getting more business in so those trucks keep running.
And for some people, their business, if they're not seeing clients, they're not making money. So
exactly.
Planning a vacation includes in planning that loss of income, right? It's not like you have PTO to lay back on, but that's a different discussion, is how we manage all of that piece, because that's
again.
But in the future,
that all goes into time management, though, and how we manage the time.
So, and women have a lot more to think about in time. That baby that feeds. Do I have enough milk? Do I need to pump an extra session today? Is the boss going to be mad at me? Those are the thoughts women often have.
And men need to be aware of what those women's needs are, Because you don't want to alienate them and you don't want to create a legal problem either, but you want them to be as productive as you can have them be. And sometimes that means that, I hate to say it, you know, you need to give them some time to do what they need to do so
to
that
feed
they
their
can.
baby, because that is a productive thing. That is something that is productive.
It is.
We think that we have to separate work from home. That's the number one myth that exists, okay? Who we are as parents, who we are as partners, who we are, the things we like to do, and our hobbies, our friends, this is all part of our identity and who we are.
Yep.
So is our work, sure. But we try to, in our culture, we've tried to say, go to work and be all at work. Go home and be all at home. And we say that we can balance that. Okay, first of all, years of working with women, years of working myself, there is no balance. Sometimes work is high and we have to take advantage of that high point and the ability to create income, right? And other times our family needs are really high and we have to balance this out so that we can be available to our family. I have never seen it be an equal scale, ever. I'm not even sure I love that word balance, because I think, again, it's like perfectionism. We're looking for something that doesn't exist and then we're disappointed when we can't find it.
I tend to like the term egalitarian, equal but different. The
But
balance,
that doesn't fit for balance. Integration. I think we need to integrate all the parts of ourselves and be willing to bring that in all facets of our life. Maybe you will be up late one night doing some work, but maybe at work you need to place that Walmart order so you have food to eat tonight. I think we have to realize these things have to interact with each other. They're not separate. They're not separate like we want to say they are.
There's everything has its pieces set into different areas, its systems, and how those systems work together, and the equal but different, and the understanding that things are not going to be the same today as they were yesterday, and things will be different tomorrow because life takes us on, and it gives us new challenges every day. And as we perform and we get better at what we do, we are able to manage things better, but nothing's ever the same.
We have to remember that women carry the bulk of what we call the invisible load. So those are tasks that when they're not done, people notice. But when they're done, nobody notices. So keeping the pantry stocked, keeping your underwear clean and in your drawer. Those are things that people only notice when they're not done. And then we have the emotional load of, are the kids okay? Am I spending enough quality time? Is my milk good enough? These are emotional questions that women carry into their world that men don't seem to have as much of that. And that is what the research plays out. Then when we look at the work behind fair play, the idea is that women are taking on about 70% of the household task. Sometimes a lot more. I hear a lot of women say, I don't even ask my kids to do anything because it's easier to do it myself. And especially with older kids, I have to remind people, okay, it's not about how long it takes. What are you trying to teach them about life, about being a family member, about these things? Is the time so important that you don't have time to teach them? Because there are right now, and there's a lot of studies about kids who are getting into their own apartments and have no idea how to clean, how to cook a meal for themselves, how to take care of themselves at all. That's a bit problematic.
That is hugely problematic.
Or there's no dishwasher and they freak out because they have to wash dishes by hand. I mean, have we done them a favor by, this is part of time management too, because it is going to come down to sometimes one parent goes to a game and one parent is working on something else. Sometimes we give up certain things to do we sacrifice for our kids. There's all this, and women seem to think about it a lot more, and it does seem in the workplace. And I've been in some of the companies I've worked for have some of the best cultures on record. When you go to Fortune 500 and all of these magazines, they rank in the top. They really work for their employees. They've been beautiful places to work. There's no doubt about it. But there's still this separation between what's expected and not having a home life, not having kids, making sure the nanny takes them. There's this idea that we can just separate ourselves from everything totally. Oh, my kid has a baseball game at 3. Oh, well, you work till 5. No deal. Well, that is not integrating. That is not respecting the person in front of you. That is not giving them the chance to be their best self. And I think that's baked into corporate culture. Now, Doug, you have the MBA, so you can tell me more, but it feels very baked into corporate culture that when you are assigned a shift, that's your shift no matter what. There's no changing, instead of trying to work with people and their real lives.
And it depends on the business, but there are a lot of businesses that are very rigid that way. They're out there producing all these widgets, and if somebody steps away, it puts a kink in the line, and widgets are not being put out like they should be. And if somebody else isn't there, then it's putting a kink in the shipping. And so there's this expectation that everybody is going to be there, and they don't care that the assembly line broke down and everybody is sitting there twiddling their thumbs.
You're there.
You're there, and the fact that you're there is wonderful, and you do what you can to whatever during those times when everything's broke, and it may take 24 hours to fix it.
And then we both have had this experience. You have that important meeting, you have that thing, and your child gets sick. It would be easy to say the formula is whoever makes more money goes, but if somebody's going to lose their job, that's going to have a huge impact on the family too. Yep. And culturally, and we know. So I want to back up just a second. Sorry about that. I want to back up. When you have a baby, their immune system is not super strong in that first year. They haven't been exposed to a lot of things. Now, breastfeeding does help with that if you are that breastfeeding mom, but it doesn't take away the fact that kids exposed to things in daycare get sick.
That's true.
And in the first year, sometimes it feels like it's every other week. And bosses don't account for this. They don't like it. They don't want to work with it. And it seems sad because we have more technology, more ways to keep people connected now and keep them in the game. But I can tell you, years of doing this. This is, I've been a therapist, I think it's 13 years. So a long time in that chair, hearing about women getting fired because their kid is sick, because a family member got sick, because they had an obligation that they felt was critically important. And it didn't match with the company's values. It didn't match with what the company wanted. So instead of trying to accommodate and work together and come to some kind of workable resolution, which there is oftentimes a workable resolution. Now, sometimes there's not. I get that. I do. I understand. Sometimes there's just not. But why are we not trying? Why are we not using technology? I mean, this is the place where we should be using it. You can get in on a Teams meeting and work with your team. You can set the team up to work together and know each other's responsibilities and help each other out. Why do we not do that? Because we believe we are individualistic and that the company has all the power. And that just we can't live our lives that way anymore. It's making people sick. We have burnout. We have women that have autoimmune disorders. a lot of these come from suppressing emotions. And so it starts with time management. So we're going to talk about time management. We're going to jump in now to start talking about that because that's what you're here for. And I think that if we're going to talk about it, we have to talk about productivity. Because Doug, grab me if I'm wrong, but in corporate culture, the metrics, the rubric, the goal setting, those are the things that they look at to judge if you are productive. Would you agree with that?
Yes,
Okay.
and we have during the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, we saw people going home in droves to work, and it was considered that it was going to revolutionize how people work, and productivity for a lot of individuals went way up. But then when the pandemic started to ease and start to go away, businesses started going, we're paying for all this space. We need these people back in the office. We need to be able to see what they're doing. We need to have
And you
the
know why?
water
You know why
fountain.
women were more productive? You want to know why? Because you know what? In between that meeting, when there was a break, they put a load of laundry in the washing. Believe me, I talked to y'all. I know what you did. You put a load of laundry in the washing machine. You put dinner in the oven. You felt like there was integration between the two roles. You didn't feel this pull to be all at work or all at home. You were able to integrate things together, and it was working for you. So many of you told me how well it was working for you. And when that kid was sick, you were able to attend to them. You didn't have to be there the whole time. They didn't need every second of your time. They just needed to be, checked on, warm bowl of soup, water, Gatorade, whatever you were doing to help them out. But they didn't, especially if they were a little bit older, they didn't need eyes on. And some of you said, yep, my baby was in the meeting with me and nobody could see. I just kept the camera the right way. This is the thing. Your life was integrated. Your life felt like it could run. All parts of your life were being noticed. And unfortunately, it feels like we're sliding backwards on that. And we're forgetting that feeding a baby is productive. Taking care of the sick kid is productive, because if we want emotionally healthy individuals in our society, we talk a lot about mental health and what it causes people to do in terms of crime and other things. And it's true. I mean, when you don't feel well, why would you care about somebody else if you don't care about yourself? That's a scary slide. So when we have emotionally healthy children who are nurtured and loved, that to me is one of the most productive things we can offer in society. And yet, metrics, rubrics, they don't account for that. And you have to realize the things that you do that are productive. Otherwise, you're going to fall back in this male-centric way of looking at it and miss out on some of the best parts of motherhood and some of the things that really matter that you will care about later.
So we are shifting the story, and if you're liking what you're hearing, hit that like button. We'd love you to subscribe, but back on to shifting the story.
All right, so now we're going to talk. So I want you to open your brain to all the ways that you are productive in a day, because it is really easy when we're on these metrics and rubrics and we have that sick child, we had to take a kid to the doctor's office, we missed that meeting, we start to get down on ourselves. So when you're feeling down, I want you to think back, oh, wait a minute, but taking that child to the doctor makes them healthier. It means I miss less meetings. It means that I can take care of my child. I'm a responsible parent. That's part of my identity. That's part of who I am and what I want to be. That's productive. Did I make my kids breakfast and pack their lunch this morning? Or maybe you gave them money to buy lunch. Beautiful. You know what? I did that too. There were times in my life where that made the most sense. Do what you need to do. You're being productive. You're helping to shape a human being. And that is a critically productive activity. When you show up at their game and you root them on, even if they're the slowest kid in the race, even if they're not They just hit strikes all the time. So what? You were there. You were there to show them that you cared about them, and that matters. And it's hard. You're going to have to break out of some of the things that are culturally baked into corporate culture, right?
Yep.
To feel like you can integrate your life. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about prioritization. Now, you've heard this a million times. I want you to just really think about your prioritization, and let's make it really easy. We're going to prioritize the task in a day right now. That's what we're going to talk about. This comes from Stephen Covey's work. I'm not going to take somebody's work without giving them credit. Stephen Covey talks about this. I have modified it a little bit for women just to make it tolerable, and it works. I shared this with hundreds of clients. It works. They come back, oh my gosh, my life got so much better. I could make sense of what I was supposed to be doing. And when you can make sense, you feel more in control. You feel more on top of it. Look at me sit up. I'm talking about it makes sense. It works. And you feel more confident. You feel more excited about your life, and you feel more in control.
Yep.
And that's what time management should give you. If you're opening your planner to see all these colors and feeling overwhelmed and it's spilling out all over the floor before you've even started your day, we failed you. We failed you. Because you feel out of control and powerless, and that's just going to seep and bake into your day, and then we don't meet the rubric or the metric or whatever it is. This is going to keep baking in, and that's not going to get you where you want to be. I want women in leadership to understand women, and I want them to feel good about their role, because right now we have a deathly bad situation, and that is 50 plus women are leaving the workforce in droves. They're tired of it. Or the ones that are staying are there for the benefits and the money. That's all they're there for. And so they're doing the least amount possible. And we are seeing this. And then we have our women that have just had babies, and they're dropping out of the workforce because they don't want to mess with this. And they're not in leadership. We don't have these groups represented in leadership. So decisions are getting made that don't account for their lives. That is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that in giving you some tools, we get your confidence up. And maybe there will be a point when you can be in leadership, because I think representation's everything. So we're going to have an ABC list. A is going to be your critical and urgent things that have to get done today. So let's just say that you have an electric bill and they're going to shut the freaking power off today. I think that's urgent and critical. Let's get that paid, right? Your gas tank is riding on the empty line. We better get to the gas station. That's urgent and critical. So you are looking for urgent and critical things to go in the A category. Again, A is urgent and critical, so you should have no more than 3 things in the A list. Now, this is always the hardest part when I start working with women on this piece. They want to put everything in the A bucket. What that tells me is we live in a society that struggles to decide what's urgent and critical. Everything feels urgent and critical. And in the postpartum phase, you may feel that way because everything does feel that way. You're just more open. You're just more sensitive to things. And men around us notice that. There's times in your cycle where everything will feel urgent and critical just because of where you are. And we'll talk a lot more about that in a future session. But I want you to start prioritizing what is really urgent and critical today. Because if you get nothing else done but the 3 things off that list, you can say you were productive. The urgent and critical things got done. That's most important.
Yep.
B is your rolling list. So that's the gas bill that's due in 7 days. That's my gas tank is halfway full. It will probably be a good idea to stop it and fill it. We're down to 4 cans of corn. We should probably have 6 in the pantry. Those are just it's just a rolling list. It's just going to keep rolling. And those are the things women think about. So those are the things that show up on B list. You may be sitting in your office. You've got a 15-minute break and you have the money in your bank account and you say, let's pay that gas bill. It's wiped off the B list. It never made it to A. Fantastic. You may have had a day where you rushed, and you only got the A list done. That's okay. B list is still there tomorrow. Some things will move to A. Some things will float off as you keep doing them. This is what it is. And C are things that are going to be projects, okay? They're going to require a dedicated amount of time from you. So that could be organizing your file cabinet. That could be, if you're me, going through your email box. That could be cleaning the oven for Christmas baking. That could be getting my spices in order for fall. It could be all kinds of things, but it's going to you need to block 1 to 4 hours to do the thing. And you need to be pretty uninterrupted. So you're going to have to work with other people to help you have that block of time. And you're going to have to just plan it into your calendar that that's your block of time. So this just really helps you to not, what happened before, and I saw women's list. I see your lives. So I saw a list. And there would be things like cleaning the oven, organizing the spice cabinet, because it felt like my life is falling apart. Everything's in shambles. If I had an organized spice rack, I could find the spices. That would be so much better. And it would be better. But when we were able to say that's a C list item, you have to make time for that. You have to have time to organize, buy, do the things. There's a breath of fresh air that everything is not urgent and critical, that you can see now how to block this out and how to work with it. And so that's important.
It's an understanding that not everything is urgent. Right now. Not very many things are urgent. If you're going to be charged a fee for not getting something taken care of, then if you get it done today, that becomes more urgent because there's a reason to make it urgent.
Right.
But if it's something that can, happen today, but it's, if something is more important, that those things get done, no big deal. But if you procrastinate, everything will become an urgent as well.
Well, and we do that because, it is for women, this is so easy to get into a procrastination cycle because everybody wants your time and attention, and they make you feel like it's urgent that you do it right now. And you miss that meeting, you feel like you're behind your team.
Mm-hmm.
And so, eventually that feeling of being behind, you just start procrastinating so you don't have to feel it anymore. And it puts you in some ugly cycles. So let's not go to that ugly cycle, and let's really think about how we organize our task and what we really value and what we really know is urgent and what is it needs to get done, but it's not critical right now.
How do we, I should say, how do women get to a position where they understand how to prioritize those things that need to go on the A list and what things can be on the B list so that it makes sense?
So experience is going to be your best teacher, like so many things. And when you pull up your list and you're faced with, I can only choose 3 things for this A list, the first thing I have from people is I have way more than 3. And then we talk about why that might be so. We look at the list together. Having an objective set of eyes can sometimes help you to really see what you're not seeing, because in your heart and what you care about, these things seem critical. And when you step back and realize that they're not as critical as you think, it helps you to clear up space. But sometimes that objective set of eyes saying, okay, look, yes, your gas tank is halfway empty, and you know that you're going to run out in the next couple of days, that it feels pretty urgent. But you're not out of gas, you're not to the E line. You're actually okay. It's actually a B item. It would be nice if you're running by the gas station or you have an extra few minutes. Fantastic. Fill your gas tank. But if you don't get to it until it runs to empty, we're still okay. Yep. And that's a really hard thing for women, especially women that are planners, more of what we would call the A type. I don't like putting people in types, but more that type that just wants everything planned and to have no emergencies or unexpected. This is going to be a learning curve and learning to evaluate what's critical and what's not, but it will give you a tool that is lifetime and makes it so much easier to live your life with confidence, with clarity. We live so unintentionally all the time. We just go bumping along with whatever shows up. Oh, the boss said this metric is important. I'm going to put all this away and do this right now. And we're bumping along. And when you look at Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil, when he talks about drifting, that's exactly what he talks about. We are not strong of mind to prioritize and to take care of our time. We drift, we drift, we drift. And that's why time management feels so hard. We're drifting from one thing to the other. This A list allows you to have some clarity and intentionality. All I have to do are the most important things. Anything off the B list is a bonus. And if it doesn't get done today, it's either going to go A list or it will get done at some point. And that C list, I'm going to pull the calendar open and get people to help me have an uninterrupted block of time to do this.
Hey, it's time to delegate some of those things.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yes, we will.
All right. When you think about your calendar, so I told you I was sitting in this time management workshop. The guy says, I'm serious. I pull the tape if you guys really challenge me on this. But he said, when I open my planner, I have 16 different colors of categories. I looked at him and I said, I think I need a nap and I need to burn that planner right now. Because no woman wants to see 16 categories in her planner. Nobody. I don't care if you're the best planner on the planet. You don't want to see 16 categories. It's overwhelming. Again, your planner is spilling out on the floor before you've even started your day.
Well, I would beg to differ that there are a few people who would love to see that because they're so organized. But it doesn't work for everybody. And that's men included. I don't want to see 16 categories either. I want to see what I need to get done, not all these other things that are unimportant that are on the list. I could care less about.
And we want to do broad categories so when you're looking at your planner, if there is a big imbalance of time, that you bring awareness to that and that we keep that time limited. We don't want work to take the priority for months and months and months on end. If it's a short-term project that requires a lot of your time, I want you to have an awareness and an intentionality about that of when it ends and when your family gets some more of your time. I want you to think about that. And by having broader categories, that is more easily seen. When we have too many categories, it gets disguised. We look productive, but are we really putting our time on the things that matter to us? So I have 4 categories that I tend to work with. If they work for you, great, take them, use them. That's what you're here for. If they don't work for you, develop ones that do. So here's the 4 that I use: work and professional, family and relationships, self-care and mental health, and household and life administration. So when you open your planner, you should be very easily able to see how equal things are, make some intentional choices about your time, see what might be imbalanced, and intentionally decide. So you may intentionally decide, this project is really important at work, it's time limited. I'm going to use the services of somebody to help with the kids or getting them to after school activities for right now, because that's the best use of my time, is to get through this project, get it done, and I get back to being able to do things I enjoy more. That's an intentional choice versus just being drifted around trying to do everything for everybody. And at the end of the day, the planner is spilling out, your heart is spilling out, you feel like you have no time, and nothing feels done. That is not the way to manage time. That feels way overwhelming.
You know, my calendar is filled with a lot of firefighting activities. My stuff comes in, so I have to have things planned out so I know where projects fit into my calendar.
Right.
Because the remainder of my time, literally, is fighting fires all day long. And if I'm not fighting those fires, I'm just going backwards.
Yeah.
So I have to get those fires out as quickly as possible, get the issues resolved, and get people back to work. If I'm not doing my job, other people aren't working.
Right.
So it's incumbent on me to have my calendar set where I know where the projects are to where I spend my time taking care of my clients.
Right. And living on that kind of time, it would be easy to neglect self care, mental health. And when we neglect that, we're running right into burnout. So, again, that's a whole nother episode. But seeing that on your calendar, if you're seeing that you're not doing anything to help yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you can turn that around. You can make some intentional choices about where to put that in your time.
Right.
Who can help me to get this done? Who can make me accountable to do this? We have so
Right.
much more power. I think a simplified calendar actually gives you more power and control. You have to make your own decisions, but I think it does. All right,
And
now we've talked about the planner spilling out on the floor, and a lot of that is because
and like, we discussed with the planner spilling out on the floor, and with my work schedules, when I have projects I need to do and there are fires, I need to know how to delegate activities to other
well, you
people.
just led us to the next topic, which is especially, I mean, in so many areas, we feel overworked and overstretched, right?
Yep.
And we keep taking on too much. So this is a good point. Once you've got your B list, once you have a good understanding, so you've used it for, let's say, 3 weeks, you've gotten a feel for ABC. Then it's time to sit and look at that B list and think about what could be delegated.
And sometimes your A list can be delegated too, but you have to know what the cost of that delegation is.
Right.
When you delegate the right things, it makes your life easier and better, and they're going to be performed better because you have the right person on the job.
Let me tell you, when I lived in St. Louis, now in the Virgin Islands, Instacart doesn't exist here. There's a couple stores I think you can do a pickup, but I'm not really sure how that. There's some things that are kind of crazy over here.
Yeah, they're working on it.
Technology's a little interesting, the way people use it. So I don't know, but I have to go shopping every week now. But when I lived in St. Louis, I loved Instacart on a busy week. And you know what? That little bit of extra cost, because I could spend my time doing things that mattered to me, was worth it. Okay, now was it worth it all the time? Maybe not, but definitely there were times when it was completely worth it.
Sometimes the $20 to get the food delivered is
Totally worth it.
is just a pittance in comparison to what you can generate in productivity.
Right. If you're staring down because you've had, let's just say, you've had sick kids at home, or it's been a busy summer and they've changed their clothes 10 times every day because they're doing all kinds of stuff, and you just have laundry mountain sitting there for the weekend. I hope y'all know what I'm talking about. It might be worth it.
Doesn't everybody have laundry mountain once a week?
It may be totally worth it to have those groceries delivered so you can focus on the laundry and getting it done. And we'll talk about some hacks for that too. I got those too. I got you covered. We got lots of hacks that we'll get into.
And there are laundry services too. So Laundry Mountain.
If you need that, if you can afford that. I mean, when we talk about delegation, we have to look at it. So let's say we're going to take mowing the lawn. Okay. Maybe that's a task that, yes, somebody enjoys it, but it's just not really fitting into the schedule right now due to whatever's going on. And you look at it and it's $50 to hire somebody to come and mow the lawn once a week. And that keeps you in compliance with the county or the HOA or whatever you got for your house, and it feels pretty good. So you're doing the thing. So you're writing that check for $50. How many projects do you have to take on? Do you have to work extra hours to do that? Or if that time is freed up, can I make more revenue? Or am I free to be with my kids and that's a higher priority? I have $50. I can pay that. You have to make decisions. Now, sometimes it doesn't make sense to delegate. You look at it and it's going to take a lot of extra hours to pay back what you're delegating out, then you might have to get creative, break it down to steps, give 5 people in the family a chore, a piece of it to bite off. You just have to figure out creatively, or am I investing my time in something that doesn't really matter? Am I out there cutting that grass so that every blade is absolutely equal? That's a waste of time, right? Am I just getting the job done so that it meets the standards and it looks nice? That's enough. That's enough. Sometimes we have to say that's enough. That's the creative piece, is in our heart, getting rid of perfection, getting rid of it has to be perfect, it has to be better than the neighbors, and going to, this is enough. This is enough right now.
Right.
There's time. You will change seasons in your life. Your kids will grow. Things will happen. As those seasons change, the things that you focus on will be different. The things you have time to focus on will be different. And so recognizing that whatever season you're in, it's temporary.
In St. Louis, the average lawn company charges $100. And if you're making $15 to $20 an hour,
not going to make sense.
It's not going to make sense to delegate that to another company to do when it may only take you an hour to do it.
But maybe you say, I'm going to invite 4 of my friends over and we're going to have a lawn mowing party and we're all going to just have fun and make this a social event. That makes it a whole lot more fun. It's more creative. Everybody's involved. Or, you know what? I'm going to invite my friends over so I have to do the grass because we're going to be outside by the bonfire or by the trampoline for the kids. And it has to be nice.
Yep.
Sometimes we have to do things like that to trick our brain and motivate us. Yeah, we're going to kind of do a hack, right? You have to decide. And there's lots of decisions. But delegation is not weakness. And this is what I hear from women all the time. Yeah, but if I hire the housekeeper, I'm saying I can't keep up with everything. Yeah, guess what? You have kids. You have a job. You have all these things. It's not saying I can't keep up with these things.
Exactly.
It's saying I prioritize where I spend my time. And cleaning house, it's worth it to work 2 extra hours to pay the housekeeper so that I can be with my kids, so that, I come home and I feel peace. So that I start my day in this place of peace. It's what is it worth to you?
It's worth it to have a housekeeper come in and do the majority of the cleaning so that you can spend time with your child teaching them how to do certain tasks in the house. Because a housekeeper doesn't have to do everything. You can say, hey, you do everything but the dishes. And
trust me, they can do everything, and then it's going to be dirty in 3 days if you got... It's going to be dirty in 2 hours if you have kids. Let's be honest. Let's just be honest about this, okay? They get a snack in the kitchen. They take it to the living room. They spill it on the floor and forget to tell you about it. Or they shove it under the couch and you smell this funky smell a couple days later. What is that? And you move the couch to see, oh, jeez. Guys, do not put the cans and the food under the couch. And then... yeah, it's going to happen again. We live a real life, I promise. With 5 kids, we saw it. We saw what they do. Or they hide things in the bookshelf. They hide the wrappers in the book. It's my favorite. You go dust the bookshelf or takes the books out to rearrange them, and you find candy wrappers.
But again...
or you got to wash their pillowcase and it's got wrappers. They're crazy stuff, but this is real, right?
But kids need to learn how to...
Obviously, we didn't have good boundaries of eating only in the kitchen. I mean, we weren't strong enough on those.
Apparently.
Going back, I'd be a lot stronger. But, we can't go back. And I don't know. We're raising children. Children have a mind of their own. And we can't have our eyes on everything at the same time. I am going to say that. Some of the sneaking food happen when I'm downstairs doing the laundry.
Yep.
Some of the sneaking happened when I was asleep.
Yep.
I'm not that perfect. And I'm not going to lock up the fridge and the pantry. I just don't. I just didn't have the heart to do that.
Yep.
I might be weak.
I don't know.
But
I don't think so.
I think that, you have to find what works for you. And sometimes that delegation piece is well worth it.
Right.
And sometimes it's not. And it's, what is it worth? What am I buying with that time? And you have to be intentional. If you're going to delegate, what are you filling the time with?
Right.
Otherwise, that delegated time gets taken up by metrics and rubrics and other people's needs, the bake sale, the school, everybody,
Right.
the church. Everybody wants a bit of your time. And if you're not intentional and you don't have clarity about what you're going to fill that time with, everybody else will take a piece of it from you, and then you will feel like delegation isn't worth it. And that makes sense. It isn't worth it if it's just going to get filled with other tasks.
And if you have too many people telling you how to run your schedule and you let them, then your schedule is going to be so filled and it's going to feel like everything is an urgent task because everybody wants something, because the school is going to want cupcakes and the dog is going to want to get fed. And
well, I hope the dog wants to be fed.
The dog always wants to be fed, but there's ways to turn a dog being fed into an urgent to,
not the way you want to run your life.
But you have church that wants this and that, and they want you to run these things, and you've got work that wants you to run this project and that project, plus do all this stuff.
Your friends want you to come to their 40th birthday party. Your friends want you to be available for their wedding or their baby shower.
And your kids want you to do X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. And you need to gain control and be in control of your schedule, not let your schedule get controlled by other people.
And that's why that 4 broad categories is so important, because we can see where the imbalances are showing up. We can see when we're giving our time away.
And the other thing is that within that schedule, you have to sit down with your spouse, mm-hmm. If you have one, and make sure that everything is working together.
Your spouse or your partner or your roommate, whoever it is that's in your life, right?
Right. That they need to understand what your schedule is. You need to understand what their schedule is. And you may find that within that there are things you can delegate to your partner and your partner can delegate to you that just plain makes sense.
Right.
And makes your life easier.
But if you're finding that one spouse is carrying most of the work in the household and not getting time for self-care and mental health, it's time to reverse that. Well, wait a minute. I'm looking at your schedule. You don't have any workouts. Did you want to work out? Is that something that's important to you? Did you want to go to a yoga class? Did you want to go get your hair done? Did you want to do something? Because I want to see if we can fit that in. That's important to me. Wow, that feels like a gift from your partner. It feels like a big gift, right? It's time.
And that's that adaptation to being able to see those schedules, mixing, melding, blending, offering to take something off somebody else's plate because it makes sense, taking and delegating something to somebody else because it makes sense, and them going, oh yeah, I can go to the store and pick up the juice and the milk that you were going to get because I'm going to be going by the store anyway, and it's not out of my way. It's a 5-minute stop, whereas maybe for you, it's 10 minutes to the store, and then 5 minutes in the store, and 10 minutes back, and before you know it, by the time all is said and done, you've spent 40 minutes on something that by your schedule should have taken 25.
So we've got 6 minutes to stay in our hour block. So let's
Yep.
Okay, so I want you guys to realize that I believe these tools are very helpful. My clients have found them very helpful. They have been tested. Some of them come from some of the gurus, and they've just been adapted to better fit what I think works for most women. So I want you to know that, but I want you to know that even with the best tools, even with the best application of the tools, even with all the things in your favor, life is going to throw you curveballs.
Yep.
And your schedule is going to get bumped and it's going to look different than you expected it to look. That is part of being in leadership, my friends, is that we are going to get knocked on our bottom and things are going to happen that we never expected, and we have to solve a problem.
And you need to look at the tools that we've given to you and then modify them so how they work best for you.
But when you get knocked on your butt,
everything.
when you get knocked on your butt, it's not that you got knocked on your butt, because that is a normal life experience. And we need to normalize that. Even when you make a mistake, when your team member makes a mistake, those are things that happen. That's normal.
Yep.
And so there's nothing wrong with you.
Yep.
It all comes down to how you respond to it. Do you allow yourself to get into a frenzy that everything is urgent and critical now because I don't know how to handle it? We get ourselves worked up. We get overthinking. We start thinking, oh my gosh, everybody's going to see the mistake. I look like a terrible leader. We start giving ourselves all that negative talk. All these things are happening, right? What if we respond with a deep breath and going, okay, what am I looking at here? I'm looking at a mistake. How big is this mistake? And we really analyze, how big is this mistake? What are the steps we could do to fix it? Maybe it's 4:55. Okay, it's a mistake, but it's not going to affect anything tonight. If I let it sit overnight, it affects nothing and nobody. Or, oh my gosh, the error in shipping is going to cost us thousands. This has to get fixed now because they ship overnight. Shipping works overnight for our company. This has to get fixed. This is critical.
Yep.
Then you can get to problem solving mode and working with your team. Who can stay? Who can come back later tonight? Who can help me? And we do this collaborative, right?
All right.
Right. So,
let's wrap
thinking
this
that
up.
way. Yep. So I want you, when you get in these situations, to have some self-compassion. Wow, this is not the situation I expected to find myself in, but I'm doing a great job problem solving. Or I can look at this critically and make decisions about this. Give yourself back the power. So the things we talked about today that you could adapt in the upcoming weeks are picking 4 broad categories for your planner. I gave you an idea for. Block your time for A, B, and C tasks, including rest and self-care. Identify one task you can delegate. Sit down with your partner, roommate, spouse, whoever it is you are living with, and review your schedules and priorities. Because making ourselves accountable, committing to things, that really, when somebody else is watching us, we do a better job. And practice self-compassion. Oh, I didn't expect to find myself here. Or, my gosh, I didn't expect a kid to get sick. Okay, back off, slow down, and let's just figure this out. What can I offer to my team today while I'm home with a sick kid? It's going to go so much further than getting in a frenzy. And we tend to get in frenzies. We do. We're good at it. Women are really good at overthinking. I'm telling you, because we're carrying that invisible load. We're really good at overthinking everything. But we can channel that, and we can come at this intentionality.
And now you're overthinking, and we need to shift the story again. If you've come this far, like, subscribe, share.
And next week, join us. We're going to talk about boundaries. This is one of my favorite topics. I love talking about boundaries. Boundaries are love. And I'm going to show you how that's true. If you think they're mean or you think it's harsh to have boundaries, I'm going to flip that on its head for you. And your life is going to be different. I promise you, your life will be different.
So, like, subscribe, and we are shifting the story. Thanks so much.
Bye. See you next week.
See you next week.